Comfortably zoned in Metsville.
Hey, Mets baseball podcast. Comfortably zoned in Metsville. Second week, I'm with Robert Cole and the greatest producer in podcast history, Pauly B, Paul Brumbaugh. First, you, Paul, how are you?
Well, I'm just trying to make it work for us all, Ziggy. That's all I'm doing. How are you guys doing? It's good to see you guys out there. I guess I should wave to the camera like I do. Hi, camera.
Hey, camera, your camera's your friend.
Yeah, the camera. They say make love to the camera. I'm not gonna go there.
Right.
In today's world, I may have to get I may have to have some consent from our camera to get that to
Oh,
happen.
right, right.
You never know.
AI will make a consent thing for you,
Right.
and you can have your way with the camera. But we won't get into that this week, if you will. Um, Paul, you healthy?
Yeah, I'm healthy. I'm doing well.
All
I'm
right.
hanging in there. I'm doing what I can.
And Robert Cole, thank you for being here again. You're
No,
a
my
great
pleasure.
co-host.
My pleasure.
We're going to try it with just two guys talking Mets. See if that works. Uh, Excuse our dust, everybody. We're just getting adjusted to this, and I just want to say that you're in good hands with Paul Brumbaugh.
Well, there you go. All right. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Lie to him on the go ahead and lie to him right out of the gate. That's what I say.
Well, I'm Trump-like. Um, I tell a lie, pretty soon people start believing it. But
Well, I was right before we came on air, just to let you know, I was believing our vice president for a minute.
what was he saying? God
He was
knows I don't
saying
want to know.
they were having a press conference and they were talking about how they're going to let the American people basically, if they were ever wronged in like if they were arrested or anything like that, and they think they were wronged by their government, that they can basically get compensation. Like they're going to
Oh,
sue the government if they were wronged. And I was like, wait, why are they doing this? And then I had it listened to the press conference a little bit further. They say, yes, if you were like falsely imprisoned or arrested during the Biden
oh,
administration. And I'm like, oh wait, hold on. We can sue the government, or at least the Biden administration, if we were wrongfully accused, because I think they're trying to look for a way of all the questions were landing on, hey, you mean people that were thrown in jail for hurting police officers on January 6th uh, could get compensation?
oh yeah, they've been pardoned, and now they can get
Now they can get compensation. And so I
right.
thought, why are they able to get compensation, but wait, we can't sue this current administration for all the wrongfully accused stuff? There's been people shot and killed. There's been people detained and put in other countries that they don't even come from. So yeah, man, I'm telling you, if we can sue the Biden administration, why can't we sue the current? But yeah, so I'm just laughing
Let's not
inside.
talk a lot of politics.
Let's not, but yeah.
I just want to say that I am ashamed of America and the Israeli government. And you know what? A lot of people in Israel are supporting Netanyahu, obviously. So there has to be some blame uh, um, for my fellow Jews are participating in genocide after the history of the Holocaust. It absolutely sickens me. And hey, I'm in my 80th year on Earth. I never thought it would get this bad. Robert, you're right behind me. What do you think of being surprised by how this country has gotten? And then we'll talk baseball.
Well, I never thought I'd see what I'm seeing, after our fathers and grandfathers fought, many of them died to keep us free, okay, only to see us in the arms of a dictator. And I never thought I'd live to see that day.
Okay. So I'm
Yeah,
not just
go ahead.
only
I'm
one
sorry.
shocked. Go ahead, Paulie.
No, and I was gonna say I know we're talking Mets, I know we're talking baseball, and I wasn't even gonna bring up the P word, but I do say the reason I brought it up is because it's our national pastime, and
Yeah.
if we don't protect every one of our rights, including our national pastime, it may be our national pastime, may be beheading. Who knows at that point?
Yep.
So
I'll
I'm just
excuse,
saying it because America and baseball go hand in hand, and
I will excuse us for talking P
right,
because the thought of what's going on goes through our heads constantly. And it's tough sometimes not to go with those thoughts if you're outspoken, like most podcasters are. And, so I apologize to those who are out there and can't see the reasoning behind um, our feelings and what's going on. And every day, you wake up, you turn on the computer. Is the fucking guy dead yet? And then you think, then you got Vance, who who said those things that Paulie heard this morning about insurrectionists who wanted Pence dead and Pelosi hung, getting compensation. Unbelievable.
right,
Well,
Unbelievable.
not only
They've
them
got
getting not only them getting compensation, Zig, but Trump getting compensation. This is also
yeah,
about him getting compensation.
yeah. They
Okay,
for
did
because
what?
say they did say. Let go ahead, Robert. But you're right. They did say this doesn't only just pertain to them. It was anybody who was wronged. And
because
so they even used the example, well, JD Vance, does that mean you could apply? And he said, well, yeah, I could, but I wouldn't. And so that leaves it open to everybody. Go ahead, Robert. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's
yeah,
opening
because
up.
this whole thing basically is so Trump can sue himself. Well, not himself, but the
The
Biden
government. Yeah.
government in order to get compensation for his many arrests.
Yep.
That's what that's all about. And by the way, also politics and baseball have gone hand in hand since the beginning of time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you can't get politics out of baseball. You can't get baseball out of politics. It just is. So we will.
We should make a commercial where one of us is walking and the other one's walking and we bump into each other and you got
Right.
my baseball into your politics and my politics into your
Yeah.
peanut
It's
butter
not
Well,
or
just
baseball.
I'll start off um, telling Robert that he's correct and using an example and talk Mets. We were going to talk about the early days of the New York Mets. There was a lot of politics in that. And what led up to the Mets being in existence, for instance, was strictly political
Mhm.
between O'Malley and Robert Moses.
Yep.
And we won't dwell on that because I'm not the expert. Robert's the expert. And let's keep this short. I'm going to ask you what happened? Real short, bottom line, what happened that the Dodgers, who were making money, now the Giants left and they weren't making money, and they
Correct.
were going to go to Minneapolis if the Dodger leaving didn't take place.
Correct.
Well, I heard that O'Malley first started thinking about it in 1957. Tell us how that's bullshit.
O'Malley actually first started thinking about it in 1952. Okay,
Exactly.
right after he basically took control from Branch Rickey in '51. And Walter O'Malley, may he not rest in peace, is a son of a bitch, like we all know. And all
Right.
he was concerned about is money. And similar to somebody else we know in politics right now, but all he considered was money and how his family could make money, and damn everybody else. But
Yeah.
this goes all the way back from the moment he took over. He wasn't happy with Ebbets Field. It wasn't big enough. He wanted a bigger stadium. At that time, most of the money was gotten through ticket sales, unlike today. And he wanted a larger stadium. And he wanted supposedly to build it in Brooklyn. Brooklyn was not large enough to take a stadium of the size that O'Malley wanted without having a big wall of congestion, eh, even more so than there is now. And it just didn't make sense. But he
It
insisted and
didn't
pushed.
make sense to Robert Moses. Let's put
It
it
make
that way.
it makes sense to Robert Moses. It did make sense to give the Dodgers a new ballpark, but
In
not in
Queens.
Brooklyn.
In
Correct, not
Queens.
in Brooklyn. Right.
And O'Malley's excuse was, we're not going to be named anything but the Brooklyn Dodgers. Well,
Right.
at what price glory for killing the spirit of a borough forever? I I can't imagine how much harm you could have done to people, um, Trump notwithstanding, to their psyche in the 50s.
Oh yeah.
Um,
My brother and my father, okay, basically stopped being baseball fans. My brother was 7 years older than me, and they basically stopped being baseball fans after the Dodgers moved. And talking about the Brooklyn Dodgers, O'Malley wanted to name the new team in California the Brooklyn Dodgers of Los Angeles because
oh,
he was concerned that people knew the Brooklyn Dodgers, but they weren't going to know the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he wanted them to be the Brooklyn Dodgers of Los Angeles.
that negates an entire portion of the biggest city in the world. In other words, imagine how you guys, being Dodger fans, would have felt with that slur. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that was horrible. That was horrible.
And
Um,
also the Dodgers, as you guys know, had the nickname of bums. Okay, and they had the comic strip, little character that was a bum. Okay,
Gallo, I think, but
yeah, Bill
the
Gallo. Yeah, right. Bill Gallo's Tramp. And when they moved to Los Angeles, there was a meeting of the Los Angeles Press Corps, and they were told by the head of the Los Angeles Press Association that no longer were they to refer to the Dodgers as bums. Okay, because now they were in Los Angeles. So, you know, Los Angeles was
yeah,
trying to differentiate between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Los Angeles Dodgers. O'Malley was afraid that they wouldn't be known as the Los Angeles Dodgers and wanted them to be named the Brooklyn Dodgers of Los Angeles.
right. That's a hypocritical son of a bitch too.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I will cite the only thing that I know of that O'Malley did to show humanity, and that was Roy Campanella. Um, he took care of Campy and gave. Um, it was how many people were at that candlelight ceremony for Campy? It was at
92,500, something like that.
right, and they all lit candles,
Right.
And he donated the proceeds of that to the Campy um, cause or whatever that was.
Right.
Um, um, and I think that I can't imagine him doing that out of the goodness of his heart, but I will assume that he did because
Well,
it's the only case I can think of that, like I say, showed his humanity. And, what can I tell you?
something funny about that as well. Okay. O'Malley did not like Jackie Robinson. Okay. Campy and Jackie
Frank
Robinson
Turkey's
did
guy.
not get did not get along. Okay. They were two different political ilks, Campy and Jackie. Jackie was very outspoken. Campy was very soft spoken. Okay. O'Malley liked Campanella's soft spokenness, disliked Robinson's outspokenness. And by favoring Campanella, okay, he was sort of backslapping Robinson. Never did anything for Jackie. Okay. Never helped Jackie. He had promised Jackie in the past that he would get a chance to manage. That was a crock of shit, you know. And Robinson and O'Malley feuded all the way through. You know, I think Jackie
Mm.
may have made one appearance at Dodger Stadium late in his life, I believe, just before he passed away. And that was about it. At the meantime, O'Malley was taking care of Campy, but I think it was sort of a backslap at Robinson as much as it
Oh,
was
really?
helping. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. Wow, that's something that never occurred to me. And I'm appreciative of getting your knowledge. How about that?
Yeah. And the other thing
Um,
too is, why didn't O'Malley bring Campy out there to like appear on television for Dodger games and things? Instead, Campy did a middle of a
Yankees.
doubleheader show for the Yankees.
Yes. This is Roy Campanella, folks, saying, hoping the game goes well for you. That's how he said it.
Yep.
And I, I mean, I can't imagine being a quadriplegic, and especially as an athlete. When you lose your skills as an athlete in the natural way through time and the shock must be a motherfucker from
Yeah.
that standpoint.
Yeah, but
Um,
he had, at least outwardly, he handled it with grace. Okay, he
right.
handled it, very, very well. I don't think I could have done that. Um, but he did. I mean, again, outwardly, we don't know what it was like inside.
Well, we've had some reports that um, he had some problems, or his wife was very non-supportive. So I don't know, but hey, rest his soul for crying
Yeah.
out loud. And
And
but
getting back to your original thought about 6 hours ago, um, bringing the
to
Mets
keep
into
it short,
the
to keep
equation.
it short.
Once the Dodgers left, all right, there was Branch Rickey reared his head again and put a spur in O'Malley by
Yes, I
wanting
forgot
by
about
by
that.
by wanting
Continental
to
League.
start a third major league, and that was at the behest of New York City. New York wanted a National League team or another team besides the Yankees, and that they brought in Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey was serious about a third baseball league, but not everybody in New York City was serious about that. They just wanted a National League team in New York.
Right. Branch Rickey had so many different baseball lives
And
that were significant.
Zig, can you do me a favor? Reset your mic. I believe your mic just,
All right,
no problem.
I'll get it going. Hey, why don't we take a break
But
from me?
we will in a minute, but keep going on your guys' conversation. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Let me get this little
Only because
gizmo here.
and it looks like it's probably working better, but all of a sudden you got some wonkiness. So just making sure.
I appreciate that, Mr. Producer.
Yeah, no
You are
problem. I'm,
suspect.
d- yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm a good listener.
There you go.
Um, so you know what? I'll get off this for a second. You know what's amazing is that in forming the Mets, first of all, Joan Payson was a giant on the board of directors. She was the only person to not vote for them to move.
Right.
And what amazes me in looking back on how they were formed, they took a Dodger, maybe because there were more Dodgers eligible, maybe because there were more great Dodgers than there were Giants, notwithstanding Willie. And eventually she got her wish. She got Willie as a Met.
Right.
And we'll go into that. But many, many more Dodgers were thought of, former Dodgers, Zimmer as an example, Gil Hodges as an example. And they played in the Polo Grounds, former home of the Giants. And it's just a lot of holy shit. Did that really happen along the way?
And
Um,
your mic's doing it again. Sorry, buddy.
I don't know what to tell you on this one
Yep,
about
that's all right.
this. All right. Um, the biggest thing was Casey Stengel becoming a Met. And in those days, it was imperative to compete against the Yankees for the Mets. And what better way to take their former manager, Hall of Fame manager, led them to 5 championships in a row, 10 pennants. They fired him.
Yeah,
Was
because it became 70.
right. He'll never do that again. He
Right.
says, I'll never make the mistake
Turning
of
70
becoming
again.
70.
Yeah.
Um, and 70, my God, that's a youngin'.
Yeah.
But he looked younger. He looked older than us when he was 50.
He looked
The way
older
we
than us
look.
when he was 20.
Yeah, right, right.
Look at the young pictures of him.
He was a character. Talk about him for a second because he was so important in all of this.
Well, he was very necessary. Okay, the Mets drafted a lot of older ball players. The Houston Colt 45s, as they were then, drafted a lot of young players in the expansion draft. They knew that, these guys were not in their heyday anymore. Gus Bell, Gil Hodges, Frank Thomas,
Gene
Sergeant Gregg,
Woodling, Gene
Gene,
Woodling,
Gene Woodling, and they
even
needed
Ashburn.
right.
It
Richard
was
Ashburn.
not the Ashburn of all. As a matter of fact, Hickman took over in center field and moved Ashburn either to the bench or right field.
Right.
Hickman was a very underrated Met in those days.
Well, he was an
And
underrated ball player.
yeah,
He had a long career, of a decent, major league ball player.
big part of the 1969 Cubs, as a matter of fact.
Yes, he was.
Tell me something. Get your impression. I wanted to say, as young as Houston drafted, and it looked much better early on, the Mets won the World Series in 7 years.
Right.
From that um, debacle of the first few years.
Yep.
So there's much to be proud of in our history coming back from their early start. George Weiss, another big part of the Met history, was a former Yankee. So that's why I say it was very important to beat the Yankees for the Mets.
Well, in the spring training, okay, the Mets and Yankees would play. The Mets played it as if it was the World Series. The Yankees could care less, and the Mets did very well in those early spring training games against the Yankees.
You know who did well for them was Rod Keneal. He hustled beyond belief. He won a job, and he was not the most talented human
No.
being to
And
play baseball.
he was a former Yankee farmhand.
Right. And Casey knew him then.
Right. And he always
Let me
impressed Casey.
let me tell you a little story about Casey. I interviewed Hobie Landry.
Very nice picture of your knee, by the way.
I
Yes.
know it's improving. That happened without my permission, and I don't know how to get rid of that. But maybe you could put a picture.
and that's why you have a producer. I just keep Robert on screen right now.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um,
That's why I get
we all
paid the
think
big bucks. That's why I get paid the big bucks, guys. The big bucks right here.
That's right.
There's more big bucks coming. That's what whatever you do in life, the things that keep us going is that head trip. More coming, good things coming.
That's
But
right.
Hobie Landreth, on a podcast that I did with him, told me about, even though the Mets were at that time in the early years n- not doing well, Casey took a personal offense to that and would put drills on. He would teaching seminars. He was not just a clown in those early years. He Hobie said that he'd go from base to base, and the team would follow him around, and he talk about things that could save you a ball game. Cutting corners, for instance. Then he'd go to second base and he'd talk about getting leads and stealing signs and staying in the game, not just being out there as a spectator. Hobie gave a good recommendation for what Stengel did in those days. What I contend is that he was underrated, and we talked about Jackie Robinson wanting to be a manager back in the Dodger days. He did a show, pregame or after game show, where he was so anxious and pissed not to be their manager. And he was so much against Casey that I just wanted to say that not only was Casey an inordinate PR guy, but something that Jackie couldn't have done in those days if he were the manager. He just didn't have the personality to bullshit.
No, no, that's true. He was not ready to be the manager of a new team, for sure. But I believe he probably could have managed had they started him in the minors, like Walter O'Malley had promised him. Stengel and Robinson did not like each other, not in the
Oh, really?
least.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And, you know, people don't realize Casey in his early days was a racist. Okay.
I
And
didn't know that. Who wasn't in their early days?
exactly,
If you grew up in the Depression days, everything was blamed on the black.
exactly. And
Um,
Casey was no different. In fact, when the Dodgers finally beat the Yankees in Game 7 of the 1955 World Series, Casey said, "My only redeeming thing was that Robinson wasn't on the field when the final out was made."
well, well, here's a Casey quote about Elston Howard, who was really a terrific catcher, terrific human being, and
Now, are you going to tell
and
the real? Are you going to tell the real story? Or are you going to tell
uh,
the cleaned up story?
well, I don't want to tell the cleaned up story, so I'm going to go to you for the real story, Robert.
Okay, I'll do it semi clean. Okay, when Elston
Semi clean
Howard
will do.
when Elston
Eh,
Howard became the first black player on the New York Yankees, they asked Casey about him, and Casey said, "Of all the black players in the major leagues, I have to get the only one that can't run."
That's the story I was thinking of. I can imagine the wording he used was
Well,
a
instead
little
of
different.
black, he used a different word, but
Right,
we'll
right,
stay politically clean for now.
right. Yes, let's do that. Um, so let's talk about who who are the guys who made up that expansion team. Start with Hobie. Casey said when they drafted him as a catcher
Well,
from the Giant.
he was the first draft choice of the Mets
Right,
that was made.
right. And he wasn't the first guy to be signed as a Met, but I can't think who was. But his expression was, well, if you don't have the catcher, you're going to have a lot of pass
Cool.
balls. So
Exactly.
that's what I mean by he'd always have a quip. And um, allegedly, he would stay up till really late drinking with
Yeah, but
his crew,
right, with the
which
sports
was
right.
the press guys, and they
Right.
loved him. They
Yep.
loved him. They always had a quote. Um, and it was, I think it was him that the only person who could have kept the interest they lost 120 games that year.
Yep.
And I play a lot of computer sim baseball games. And I played the Mets in a lot of the leagues that I'm in, the league that I'm in. And I played that league for, I'd say, at least 7 complete outcomes. And statistically, they never, because it's a stat league, and you couldn't put in um, um, Ashburn and Chacon crashing and losing because they couldn't speak English or whatever.
Well, that was another great story. Okay,
Right,
they
tell
always
that story.
well, Chacon and Ashburn very often came very close to having accidents, crashes. So Ashburn asked Chacon, "Okay, how do I say I've got it? I've got it in Spanish." And Chacon taught him, "Yo tende, yo tende." So a ball goes out in between short and center field, and they both go back, and Ashburn's yelling, "Yo tende, yo tende." And the next thing he knows, he's flat on his back because Frank Thomas ran into him and said, "What the hell is yo tende?"
Another racist, Frank Thomas,
Yeah, the big
had
donkey.
a lot. The big donkey had an incredible um, go with Richie Allen. I don't know um, what the story was, but they ended up in a big fight, and
Yeah, they did.
so. But that guy hit 34 home runs their first year.
Yeah, he
So
was for a short time. He was on pace to break Babe Ruth's record early in the year.
right. Hey, we spoke about Hobie Landreth. Early on, he was traded for Marv Throneberry. And does Marv Throneberry, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the one traded for him. Does Marv Throneberry epitomize the 1962 Mets or what?
Oh, absolutely.
Uh,
He was perfect.
yeah,
Most 1962 Mets stories have something to do with Marv Throneberry.
I'll tell you the best one, and I was there alone. Couldn't
Sunday
find any
doubleheader. Sunday
Sunday
doubleheader.
double June 21st or whatever. It
Yeah,
was right before,
I was at Jones Beach when that happened.
and I was about to go to summer camp, and it was a big step for me. I was like 1962. How old were we going to a game alone?
15.
So yeah. So I go to this game, and real early, Joe Pignatano in batting practice hits a weak ground ball to me standing over the third base um,
Railing.
line, and I catch a ball. Only ball I ever caught. Well, I'll tell you a quick story. The usher comes up to me and says, a buddy of mine wants the ball, not a bat, a broken bat that I can get for you if you give me the ball. So, sure enough, he comes back with a broken Kenny Hubbs bat. Kenny Hubbs died the year after that plane crash.
Right.
I got to keep that bat until I went into the Air Force, and I asked Marty Rose's mom, because my mother would thrown that son of a bitch out.
Yep.
And before I made the airport to go to the go to Travis Air Force Base, she'd had that trashed.
Right.
So Marty Rose, she says, "Sure, I'll keep it for you." Blah blah blah. Turns out she gave it away as well, and I couldn't be mad at Mert's mother. I would have been mad at my mother, but got that Kenny Hubs bat. I'll go on with the Met what he did. Um, First of all, Lou Brock hit a home run in one of those games into the bleachers. Skinny, small, not a home run hitter,
Right.
muscled up that day and hit one out. Now, the other thing I remember, I don't know if it was the same game, but I doubt it, was that the Throneberry muscles up and hits a triple.
Mm-hmm.
And the umpires come out and they say he missed first base. And Cookie Labagetto said, "Don't argue, Casey. He missed second base too."
Yep.
That was a triple and turned into an out.
Yeah. Right.
So that was a day that
A
stands
day
out
that
in my
will live in,
memory.
a day that will live in infamy.
Yes, yes, such as the few days that have preceded them in my life. Um, can I shut up for a second?
Sure, we
And
can do some
what
business.
the business I'd like you to do is have, because he's going to be our sponsor as well as a co-host, and I'd like you um, and Robert Cole to talk about what he will be sponsoring. Talk about your biz. What's, Robert, what makes your business of sports memorabilia different? Ah, like that. Like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Well, we
Makes it
have.
different. Talk to Paul, and he'll make a commercial out of it.
All right, here we
So
go. I've already got a splash screen up for you. There you go.
uh,
Okay. Okay. We have things such as 1960 National League baseballs still sealed in the box. Okay. Warren Giles was the president at the time. Okay. And I have probably a dozen of these available, along with early Met yearbooks, Dodger yearbooks, a couple of Giant yearbooks, Pokemon cards, baseball cards, uh, baseball magazines, football magazines, all sports magazines, along with some old model train paraphernalia, the occasional old shirt. I sold recently a Brooklyn Dodger Alumni Club shirt, all kinds of fun stuff. And
and you've got a website and it's listed, your stuff is listed,
yes,
and it's all, there's no artificial stuff. You didn't mention autographs. As far as I'm concerned, um, you notwithstanding, if you're into autographs, because I know of your veracity, but unless to those people out there, unless you see an autograph being signed personally,
right.
don't believe it's legit. That's, I think um, you'll be better served by that, because there are so many what I call quills out there who
Yes.
can make a Ty Cobb, for instance, autograph appear legit. And they put it on a ball or they do this and that. Just
Print,
my advice is that autographs are very hard to authenticate nowadays. Am I correct?
absolutely. You have to have an certificate of authenticity, a COA, to accompany it.
What if that certificate is forged?
And it can be, and it
Well,
can be.
right. But
There was,
a yearbook that you buy will not be forged, as an example.
well,
Um,
okay, yes, but okay, there are guys who have made copies of yearbooks and tried selling them as authentic. They're not. They're easy to tell that they're not. But they're also a lot cheaper to have if you don't have the money to buy a real one.
uh, the Mets had two revised yearbooks, three
Right.
altogether in 1962.
Yes.
They had kind of a running in and out team. A
Correct.
lot of injuries. Gus Bell, then Woodling, Gil Hodges was um, not up to par,
Right.
and he made
They,
up for it later on in
yep.
Met history. And
They, what they would do is they had a spring training yearbook, okay, which was the beginning of the year, had all the original Mets in it. Okay. Very soon after that, Gus Bell left, Don Zimmer left. Um, let's see, Hobie Landreth left. There was just a
Mhm.
plethora of guys left. And so they came out with another yearbook. So they would have, those guys that were brought in, Vinegar Ben Mizell, guys like that.
Johnny
Yeah.
Demerit, I think was one of those guys.
He was in and
Um,
out. Yes.
and
You know,
he had a lot of expectations because I followed the Braves between the Giants leaving and the Mets coming of existence.
right.
He was one hell of a prospect. And you know what? There were guys that like Chacon and Mantilla who just weren't the players that were advertised to them, as it were, when they drafted those guys. Um,
And yet, okay, Felix Mantilla went on to be a pretty good ball player. He hit something like 35 home runs for the Red Sox after he left
Absolutely,
the
and he
Mets.
was a damn good utility infielder
Right.
for the Braves that I talked about. What
Yeah.
a team that was. In every year the Braves played in Milwaukee, they never finished below 500. And the first good, great player to come out of Milwaukee to the Mets um, was Ron Hunt. I think Ron Hunt
Right.
was a former Brave, if I'm not mistaken. But that
I'm
wasn't
not.
until
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Braves. It might have been the
I'm not,
Cardinals.
I'm not, and no, it wasn't the Cubs. The only
The
thing
Cardinals. Cardinals.
I think it was the Braves. And let me just say, in the Mets' first year, after that year, they made the worst trade possible. They traded Bob Miller, the righty, who turned out to spend years in the National League as an effective relief pitcher, for Tim Harkness, and who's the shortstop they got
Larry
with
Burright. Larry
Larry
Burright.
Barrett. That name escapes me for all the right reasons. And that was a terrible trade, and they could have done much better. Hey, tell me about your website a little bit. First, um, how do we find you on the website?
It's easy. eBay.com/Robco8956.
Beautiful. We're Paulie will have that um, put together. So
And
we
I have something like 300 items up for sale right now on there, and more going up every day.
wonderful, and I'm hoping you folks out there will deal with Robert, if nothing else, because of his veracity. And you're a good guy, Robert, and
Thank
I
you.
love the I love that you're here. We got off to a bad start, you and I, years ago, politically, because
Yes, we did.
um, um, you were a Republican. I was a
Yes.
Democrat, and it was back in the days where Republicans were just like Democrats because there was no Trump, and it was absolutely different. When we grew up, there was the Jacob Javiches in politics, and they could have been Republicans, they could have been Democrats. Adlai
Right.
Stevenson was, and I really didn't have an appreciation for that until we've come this far, and we've seen how a Republican uh, can be a Republican and not, vomit in their own mouths, you know. But
I'm,
again,
I'm I'm what you would call a Rockefeller, okay, a Nelson Rockefeller Republican. Today,
right,
if Rockefeller was alive, he'd be a Democrat.
absolutely. Oh, all those people would be Democrats, and they'd be turning over in their graves with what's going on.
Yeah.
They they couldn't believe it. In a sense, I'm really happy that my grandfather isn't around to see it because it would have killed him. I mean, he would not. He was a Hoover Republican, but he cried when John Kennedy was killed.
Oh,
And,
yeah. As
you know,
as did a lot of us. Yes.
yeah, so it's strange. What about the first year do you want to talk about?
Just the fact that we had National League Baseball again.
Yes,
It's I mean, my father took me to Yankee Stadium a lot in those years in between, and I rooted against the Yankees, 7 times whenever I went there. I
but
was
you had to worship the players. There
oh
was
yeah,
Yogi
yes,
and
I was a Roger Maris
Vic.
fan. I was a Roger Maris fan when he was with the Indians. Okay, the Yankees asked the Kansas City A's to get him in a trade so they could then eventually get him from Kansas City, which they did. So I was a Roger Maris fan when he was an A, was went to the Yankees. So I never stopped being a Roger Maris fan. I never considered him a Yankee in the traditional Yankee sense. Um, but I rooted it for everybody else and Roger Maris.
The Yankees didn't do right by him. They covered up his injury, and they covered it up the extent of his injury from him.
Yes.
And what was really nice, and I'm other than Stan the Man, I have no allegiance to St. Louis, but he helped them win 2 World Series, 64 and 68, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so he got his justice. He was not ready for that home run chase
No,
emotionally. He was just,
he was a country boy. I mean,
yeah,
that's what he
his,
was. He was an aw shucks kind of guy.
and he had 12 reporters approaching him, win, lose, or draw, every day. And his hair fell out. Um,
He
it was
started
it was bad.
smoking.
It
He
was
was
bad for him. I
Yep.
lived in Queens, and Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, and Bob Serve shared an apartment, much like my mother's apartment. A small little, in those days, you didn't live in mansions as a
Right.
player. Um, and they got along perfectly well. There
Yeah.
was Mantle and Serve. Um, they were in an incredible competition. But you know what? Mantle rooted for when Mantle um, was had that thing in his thigh. It was basically a bad shot from Mel Allen's doctor,
Yeah.
um, and he couldn't play anymore. He had 50 something home runs, and he rooted for Maris. And I will say that Mickey Mantle had it in his legacy only to say he was a good teammate, and he
Yep.
was.
Yes, he was.
So, but we instantaneously took to the Mets, and the game that I remember on the radio in spring training was when Rod Keneal had that great day. And Mert and I were walking home from the schoolyard, and we heard that. So, wish Mert could be here to see this, but we
He,
are coming to you all from the Marty Rose Memorial podcast booth and on our show, and it will always be that way. You know what I wish? We're going to talk about the Mets this week. After our show, they went nuts. They've won 6 out of 7 games.
yes.
They have found 2 guys who are big rookies coming up, who are big parts of what's going on. And Ewing had this great day that we debuted our show. So he is going to be one of our guys until he gets hurt or goes back to the minors. But we're going to root for him, especially. Um, Robert, can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
Benji and Ewing um, to give me some hope?
Oh, they're legit. Okay. Benj worked his way through the entire Met organization last year, finishing with about 20 games in AAA. Had a great spring training, made the team out of spring training, had a rough start, but they stayed with him. Okay, he's come around now. He gives them a lot of speed. He's a good defensive outfielder. Uh, a good, smart baseball player. AJ Ewing, okay, had a very good spring training. Reporters were asking Carlos Mendoza, does he have a chance to make the team out of spring training. Mendoza laughed, said, not only isn't he going to make the team, he's not going to start in AAA. He's going to start in AA. And he did. And then he had, I think, 10 or 11 games in AAA, and they brought him up. And he's played very well. Neither one of them are over their heads. They've added some spark, some hope for the future, which in turn has gotten some of the others. Brett Beatty has all of a sudden gotten hot. Mark Vientos has 16 RBIs and 16 games. The pitching has been good all along, even though every couple of weeks they lose another pitcher. Uh, it's things have picked up. They're looking better. Okay, last night was a crazy game, 13 innings. Okay, you don't get 13 innings anymore in today's baseball. Um, Tie game into the 13th inning. The Mets score 10 runs in the top of the 13th.
And
To wind up,
Beatty and Vientos both come up big,
yes, yep.
which is
Vientos,
nice to see.
Benj and Ewing also came up big in that inning. So they're playing well. Bo Bichette is starting to hit finally, and if everything starts working out, things could change.
Yeah.
You have to remember they were 12 games under 500 2 years ago in June. This year they were 12 games under 500 in May, and have gotten back more than half of that already. So there's still hope. There's still a lot of baseball to play.
As major Met fans, I think you will agree that at this point, we want them to be competitive as all. If they win it all, great. But we are at a stage in life where we have to appreciate the Mets for being the Mets. And strange things are going to happen.
They always do.
They always do, always have. But to be in a position to have this as an outlet, this show as an outlet, and it's great for me. It's great for me to be old this way, to remember Mert this way, to remember our memories together, and separately. We both went in 1964. We both, Mert and I, went to the Mets opening day against the Pirates and played hooky that day. And
I hope they aren't listening in. They can give you a demerit. Even this late in your life.
My mother gave me the demerit because my mother was out shopping that day, and runs into Jack Rose, Marty's dad. And he says to her, "The kids have a beautiful day for a ball game." And she had no idea I played hooky. And I came home from a great day, and she goes, "How was school?" And I said, "It was just great." She wails off and hits me like Joe Frazier. She was pissed that I lied to her more than anything else.
Right.
And I don't blame her. But I was going to go to that game. And that it was the opening day of Shea Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It Another one of my memories. Hey, how we doing for time, Paulie? All right. Let's do a little business, Paulie.
All right, that sounds great. All right, guys, we are lawyered up, and I'm gonna go to my camera. There we go. All lawyered up. We're gonna do this thing. We have peace of mind, but we would like you guys to reach out and patronize our fine sponsors. We'll be back right after this, guys. Whether it's criminal defense, estate planning, or civil litigation, the answer is the law offices of Andrew Doja. Call us today at 510-865-1600 or find us on the web at dojalaw.com.
For tenant and landlord disputes, there's no other than the law office of Jeff Canberra. Call now 1-510-865-7369 and don't forget to tell them Zig sent you.
All right, guys, and don't forget to go like, subscribe, and follow us. Comfortably Zoned in Metsville. That's right. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and now Twitch. So please go like, subscribe, ring that little bell, and you'll be notified when we drop another episode. But we're back, and we're getting ready to get out, guys. So great show. Lots of info there. And if we keep doing our job right, does that mean the Mets stay on this winning streak? Yeah, so I had your mic off. You said yes.
Yes.
We
All right.
brought them incredible luck. We turned their season around last week on our debut show. And I don't expect to do that very much. I'm a realist, a pragmatist, but a lover of the Mets. And loved it today, Robert.
Oh, a lot of fun. Looking forward to next week.
Keep coming back, and we'll talk soon. Thank you, everybody.
Absolutely. And guys, remember, stay comfortably zoned in Metsville. Until next week, we'll see ya.